It's The Log. I'm Charles Purcell, coming to you from River West, the greatest neighborhood in the world, right here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where the big story, and it's a national story as well, Giannis Antetokounmpo signs the biggest contract in NBA history, 5-year, $228 million Supermax extension, 5 years, plus the 1 year he's got on his old contract, I guess. So, yeah. No. We have Giannis, 2-time reigning MVP, for 6 more years. You can't have him. Neener. So everybody here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin is pretty damned excited about this. And before you get too excited about, these athletes chasing a little ball around, these pituitary cases getting millions of dollars. Yeah, right. I'm a lefty. I'm a socialist. I should be upset about this, right? Well, of course I am. But if you're upset about it, join me and be a lefty. Because from the standard point of view here, from the capitalist point of view, from the people who believe in making money and spending money, this actually makes sense. Here on the local Milwaukee news, everybody's talking about what a great boon it is. And the economic impact on the city of Milwaukee is just massive. People come from around the world to see this guy play. And so, especially in the hospitality industry here, restaurants, hotels, bars, people are going to be making money hand over fist. Yeah, if you are someone who generally agrees with the system under which we live, basic profit and loss in a capitalist society, this $228 million is money well spent from your perspective, okay? So don't be whining and complaining about this, about athletes making millions of dollars. Under the system, it makes perfect sense. The owners of the Bucks wouldn't do it if it didn't make sense. Again, going back to the taxes he's going to pay huge amounts in taxes. It's basically going to pay off the arena, which got tax money, which you also complain about. It always kind of amuses me when very mainstream people, and by that I mean, folks who don't question our system, they don't consider themselves lefties or socialists. In many cases, they're quite conservative politically, economically, but still they complain about the millions of dollars that athletes make. No, it's perfectly logical within that system. So don't complain. Now, if you want to complain, be a lefty. We're the only ones who really have a right to complain about such things. All the millions and billions and trillions of dollars floating around. And floating around is an appropriate idiom in this case, because that's just what it does. It stays up there where none of us can reach it. The CEOs up in the high rises, up in their penthouse boardrooms, yeah, they can reach it fine. Now, strictly from a sports perspective and a sports fan perspective, this is the greatest news in the world. We're jumping through hoops and turning somersaults around here. We love Giannis. And by all accounts, he's a pretty good guy, too, which is nice. It's nice to have a sports superhero who's also a good guy. So there's that. There's your sports and financial news for the day. Oh, by the way, a quick little side note here. I noticed one of the recent shows was shared by a couple of people. And I got to tell you, it increased the distribution of that episode by about 1,000%. I'm not good with math, but the people who were exposed to that episode on social media were about 10 times more than would normally be exposed just from my sharing it. I won't even tell you my numbers because they're too embarrassing. I run a small mom and pop operation here. So I'm asking you, if you like the show at all, occasionally or daily, if you can, share it. Share it on your social media, and we'll get out to some more people. because my numbers are, by myself, are very small. I have to confess. I'm not going to tell you my numbers. They're too embarrassing. But if 1 or 2 or 10 or 20 or 50 people share it, now we got an audience. Now we have a family. Now we got some other people joining in the fun here. So I'd really appreciate it. Go ahead and share if you would. Hit that share button. Again, I'm a mom and pop operation. In fact, there's no mom. I'm just a pop operation. I'm a poperation. I'm just a poperation over here. Thanks for that. All right. Oh, I have a recommendation for you. Now, this is a secondhand recommendation. This is the first time I think I've done this. I have a good friend. His name is Rick Logan. I'll give you credit. Hi, Rick. He's a stand-up. He does stand-up comedy in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He and I met many years ago when we worked together at Dudley Riggs. We did improv, sketch comedy together for a couple of years. Oh, it was wonderful. I've told you about that. Anyway, Rick had a recommendation for me and his friends. It's called All Is Calm, The Christmas Truce of 1914. It's on PBS. Check your local listings. But for our immediate purposes, it's streaming right now as we speak. And this, streams expire. That's the way PBS does it. It expires at the end of December. So you've got from now until through New Year's Eve to watch this. And this is a story you may have heard about. I've heard about it. As described here on PBS website, the Western Front, Christmas 1914. Out of the violence, a silence, then a song. A German soldier steps into no man's land, singing Stille Nacht, Silent Night, of course. Thus begins an extraordinary night of camaraderie, music, peace. A remarkable true story told in the words and songs of the men who lived it. So it's a stage performance. Again, it's called All Is Calm, The Christmas Truce of 1914. Streaming right now at pbs.org through the end of the month. And my friend Rick Logan recommended it. Not only recommended it, highly recommended it. And this is a guy I love and trust. So I can very easily pass on that recommendation before having even seen it, which I haven't. I plan on seeing it. Maybe I'll watch it tonight. So there's a recommendation for you. All Is Calm, The Christmas Truce of 1914, PBS. I like to be of service, pass such things along. Well, we haven't talked much about it because, honestly, there hasn't been a lot of news on the COVID-19 relief bill. A lot of back and forth, and making most of the news lately are the centrists, the Joe Manchins of the world, which is just kind of annoying. I said, it's been a couple of weeks now, that I was in favor of the compromise bill, which shocked a lot of people. But the only reason I was in favor was because Democrats took the White House. And there's a small chance, maybe a 50-50 chance they're going to take the Senate here in Georgia. So I agreed with the people who looked at this current bill as a down payment for a larger bill after Inauguration Day. Now, Bernie disagreed with me. And I love Bernie. And he's fighting hard. He's holding out. And I love him for it. But as it stands now, and good for them for not listening to me because they've even made more progress. The lefties. There's no such thing as a lefty, really, in these negotiations. But the Democrats have succeeded in getting this ridiculous immunity clause dropped. McConnell now says he'll drop his demand for shielding businesses from COVID-19 lawsuits. This immunity, this so-called liability, the protection against lawsuits over COVID-19. So that was really a big sticking point. And McConnell, until now, really has shown no signs of letting it go. Well, they hung in there. And yeah, he's now said that he'll drop it in exchange for the Democrats dropping their $160 billion state and local aid package. Now, you might think that's an unacceptable compromise. But again, I go back to the basic down payment logic. This has got to be the first of two bills, and that second bill has to come pretty quickly after inauguration and after the new Congress is sworn in. So I don't know, is it a gamble? It's taking a little bit of a chance that we can get that second bill at all. But if I were a member of Congress right now, I'd be among the cheerleaders for this. I know it doesn't fit my typical lefty, radical, no compromise. But in this case, because we've got a new administration and a new Congress coming in a matter of weeks, I say grab it. Grab this thing. Now, for a while, they thought it might be part of the overall spending bill, which has to be done by Friday, if I understand the calendar correctly. Or we have another government shutdown, which Bernie was using as his negotiating tool. He said, yeah, I'll shut the mother down, fighting for what he wants. He's still fighting for the $1,200 payments, the $600 unemployment benefits. He's fighting for the things he won in the first CARES Act. And he's still out there on the floor yelling for us. Good old Bernie. You got to love the guy. But, yeah, the overall spending is going to be a $1.4 trillion. And according to the AP, this spending bill is virtually completed. Lawmakers say they've pretty much agreed on everything there. By the way, it includes $1.4 billion for a final installment on the U.S.-Mexico border wall. My God. Yeah, what's 1.4 billion here and there? Maybe Giannis can chip in. Oh, mercy. Thank God that's all over. So on the COVID bill here, they're still fighting over the jobless benefits. It looks like we still have a chance for $300 per week, down from $600 for the supplemental unemployment. That's something. In kind of a weird partnership here, the Democrats and the Orange Menace both want direct payments to folks. That's the $1,200 we got. Most of us, a lot of us got back in forever ago. So yeah, the Orange Menace and the Democrats want that, the direct payments, but the Republicans don't. So it's kind of come down to those two issues, the direct payment and the unemployment supplement. So according to the reporting anyway, I don't know, I'm not there, I'm not in the room, but the reporters are telling us, yeah, it looks like maybe we've got a deal here. If they can come together on these last two big decisions, looks like we have a deal. So I think that's good news. Again, strictly as a down payment. And in the meantime, we've got Giannis and we've got Mackenzie Scott. They can help us out. Mackenzie Scott just gave away $4.1 billion. $4.1 billion. She's the ex-wife of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. Philanthropist Mackenzie Scott. Yeah, this ain't no way to run a world. But thanks, Mackenzie Scott. $4.1 billion she's given away. See, this is the thing about charity. You and I have spoken about this many times. Rich people giving away money, you know, it's fine, but it's anti-democratic. They get to choose where the money goes. I wonder who she's giving it to here. In this case, she's giving it to food banks, so kind of hard to argue with that. Good for you. She wrote this week, after my post in July, I asked a team of advisors to help me accelerate my 2020 giving through immediate support to people suffering the economic effects of the crisis. They took a data-driven approach to identifying organizations with strong leadership teams and results, with special attention to those operating in communities facing high projected food insecurity, high measures of racial inequality, high local poverty rates, and low access to philanthropic capital. The result over the last 4 months has been $4,158,500,000 in gifts to 384 organizations across all 50 states, Puerto Rico, and Washington, D.C. Some are filling basic needs, food banks, emergency relief funds, and support services for those most vulnerable. All right, okay, good for her. Who's going to argue with this? It doesn't change my conviction for completely overhauling the system where billionaires don't exist in the world where there's no such thing. But while we have this system, this is a good thing. Like Giannis's contract is a good thing under our current system. Compared to the overall need around the world, is it still just a Band-Aid? Yeah. but it's going to help a lot of people. So I'm not going to rain on this parade. Good for you. Good for you, Mackenzie Scott. Oh, back to politics. I love this one. Well, Steve Schmidt, who's become quite a well-known figure, came to prominence as John McCain's campaign manager back in his presidential race, responsible for bringing us Sarah Palin, which sent the Republican Party down a particular path. Kind of a fork in the road there for the Republicans. Oh, crazy people are good, I guess. All right. Good to know. Let's take note. And then Steve Schmidt became quite a critic of Republicans, and especially when the Orange Menace made our nightmares come true. And Schmidt became a regular on MSNBC as a critic of these now radical Republicans. He was criticizing his own, a prominent Republican, Steve Schmidt. And then becomes even more prominent with his poison pen. Nobody wrote screeds like Steve Schmidt against the Orange Menace. Oh, and the liberals, the Democrats, just loved Steve Schmidt because he was such a wonderful wordsmith, just assassinating the Orange Menace with his unparalleled ability to put pen to paper. So the liberals, the Democrats just fell in love with Steve Schmidt. And then what does he do? He's a co-founder of the Lincoln Project. So now the big news is Steve Schmidt has announced he has declared himself to be a Democrat. And all the Democrats welcome him with open arms. Good Lord, you guys. Just because he hated the Orange Menace as much as we did. He's not a Democrat. He's a Republican. He's a conservative. There's nothing about his political positions that makes him an ally in any conscionable sense. He just hates the Orange Menace with a white-hot passion. Good. So do we. But this is now the new Democrat? Steve Schmidt is a Democrat? This now defines the Democratic Party? Yeah, I guess so. He can go on and on about defending democracy against the tyranny of the Orange Menace. Good, fine. You can be part of this very wide, broad coalition that we're always talking about. We needed to purge this monster who was occupying the White House. Yeah, we had to do that, and we all had to come together to do that. But now he's declaring himself a Democrat, and you're all welcoming him with open arms and saying, yes, this is what a Democrat looks like? All right. Okay. This is exactly why I'm not a Democrat. You guys, the same old shuffle, the same old one step forward, two steps back. It never ends with you guys. We beat the Orange Menace. That's great. That's good. Even since the electors met on Monday in all of the states, collectively the Electoral College, and made this thing official, several Republicans are now at least saying, all right, yeah, okay, it's done. Joe Biden is the president-elect, finally. It just proves my point that there's no talking to these people. There's no compromising with these people. We just have to win. That's all there is to it. We just have to win. We have to beat them. It's the only thing they understand. But no, you want to bring Steve Schmidt into the Democratic Party and let him help to redefine it. You want to bring in John Kasich next? Do you want to make him a Democrat? Fine. If that's what you want, that's your party now. We did a episode recently. Let's see. Let me look at the archives here. Oh, it was just Monday. All right, just a couple days ago. The days. My sense of time is really off. The title of the episode was Suck It, Centrists, and the program description was this: Joe Biden and his centrist supporters can kiss my lefty ass. As long as they hold power, we are at the mercy of climate deniers, billionaires, white supremacists, and the pandemic. That was Monday's episode, if you missed it. Well, I had a response yesterday from, shall I name her? No, I'll just say a close friend, someone who I know and love. And her comment was, "What's in your water?" with a couple of question marks. See, she's not a lefty. She's a Democrat. She's a centrist. She's a good person. She's a great person. I love her dearly. But she and I don't agree on my lefty politics. She is of the persuasion that Joe and Kamala are exactly what America needs right now. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I've said all along, we needed a breath. We needed to take a deep breath. We needed to purge the tyranny of the Orange Menace. And if it took Joe and Kamala to do it, I'm fine. I'm okay. But that's done now. We've done that. Now, moving forward, if we really do want to defeat white supremacists, if we want to save lives in the face of the pandemic, the vaccine notwithstanding, we still have months of 3,000 people a day dying that we have to do something about right now. If we want to save the planet from virtual destruction, if we want to eliminate billionaires from the face of the earth and change the way we produce, distribute, and consume material goods on this planet, if we really want those things, Joe and the centrists ain't going to do it. In fact, they're going to do quite the opposite. They are going to uphold, they're going to maintain, they're going to continue the lethal policies regarding climate, economics, white supremacy, and even this pandemic and, God forbid, the next pandemic. So the time is right now to reject Joe and the centrists. I know you want to have a happy honeymoon. I understand that. I'm going to celebrate on January 20th, exactly 5 weeks from today, by the way, as we're counting down. I know it's a slow go. It seems like a long time, but we're counting this thing down. 35 days to inauguration. Yeah, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to celebrate. I'll be right there with you. I'll be dancing in the streets with you. Sure. But simultaneously, I'm calling for a lefty progressive candidate for president in 2024. And more immediately, I'm calling for lefty progressive candidates across the board for the midterms in 2022. And even more immediately, if there's a local election happening in your town or city or state, get out and challenge the moderates. You got to challenge the moderates, the centrists, the neoliberals, the Democrats. You got to challenge them. We need a huge lefty challenge at every level of government if we want to get any of this done. The Joe Manchins of the world, the John Kasichs of the world, the Steve Schmitz, the Lisa Murkowskis, the Susan Collins, the Joe Bidens, they too have to be defeated. Tom Hanks' character famously said, "There's no crying in baseball." Well, contrary to popular opinion, there's no compromising in politics. You have to win. You have to win. Now, I believe in the rules. I do not believe in all's fair in love, war, and politics. I don't believe in stealing elections. I don't believe in lying to the American public. I don't believe in any of the skullduggery that the Republicans routinely now engage in. Gerrymandering, voter suppression, unconstitutional power grabs, denying lawful nominations, packing the federal judiciary with unqualified yes men. No, I don't believe in any of that. But I do believe in winning, in defeating your political opponent. Not your enemy. I'm not going to call him an enemy. I'm not going to encourage Antifa to fill the streets and go out and look for trouble and instigate fights like the right-wingers do. No, I'm not going to emulate any of that. But I'm not going to jump on board with Steve Schmidt and the rest of them in this new redefined Democratic Party with the centrist in chief in the Oval Office. Talk about one step forward, two steps back. This is maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 steps back. I mean, is this the price we had to pay to purge the Orange Menace? Yeah, politically speaking now. I don't confuse anybody. I'm not calling for insurrection. I'm not calling for violence. It's purely in political terms here. We have to obliterate the center, in my view. We have to give the American people a choice between the left and the right, because this embracing of the center is only moving us toward disaster and destruction in the ways I've described. climate, race, economics. We're just racing down that path of doom with the current makeup and now the Kasich and Schmidt version of the Democratic Party. We have to crush this ill-conceived, fatally mistaken little centrist love affair we're having here. We got to squash that. We got to nip that in the bud, as Barney would say. Nip it. The time is right now. If you have a local election coming up, challenge the moderates from the left. Lefties, get out there. The time is right now. Get into your proverbial smoke-filled rooms. Find some good candidates for the upcoming midterms. Challenge every moderate from the left. Challenge them. Put your heads together right now. Find yourself some good candidates for 2024 and challenge Joe. If you think you can do it from within the Democratic Party, if you still think you can shift them in your particular area, go ahead. It's my thinking that that's no longer a possibility nationally, that the presidential candidate is going to have to be an independent. And that's what I'm calling for. Now is the time to recruit, to convince high-profile, qualified, let's get some bosses out there. Some real, true, quality, big-name candidates with their bona fides intact, and start making some noise right now and run as independents. And over time, over the next 4 years, we can winnow this down and we can find one standard bearer to run as a lefty independent in 2024. Now's the time. Yep, now's the time. We can all virtually hug and dance in the streets on January 20th because the Orange Menace is off to his whatever's next for him. That's great. We'll all celebrate together. Great. But I'm not celebrating Joe and Steve Schmidt and John Kasich. No, I'm not celebrating these guys. Nope, not going to happen. Give the American people a choice between a real lefty and those wackos on the right. And I'm quite confident about who they'll choose. I'm very confident. But the centrists, they got pretty good game. They put out a very appealing, comfortable message about slow and steady progress and their little kumbaya message about all of us getting along. And it's easy to fall into their little hypnotic trance, only to wake up and find yourself going off the cliff into climate disaster and economic disaster and gender and race disasters. Nope, they're taking us in the same direction as the right-wing wackos, just at a little slower pace. We'll slow down that train that's going off the cliff, but we're not going to change direction. Nope, we'll just slow it down a little bit. That's all they're really doing. So, Steve Schmidt, there you go. The Democratic Party is now yours. Fine. Lefties, here we go. Come on. It's our time. It's our time. All right, if I haven't convinced you, let me know. Charles Purcell at Gmail or charlespurcell.com. Love to hear from you. And again, if you care to, I'd love for you to share this episode in your social media. You sharing doubles, triples, quadruples extends our reach 100-fold, 1,000-fold. So I would appreciate that quite a lot. All right, I love you. I'm Charles Purcell. Talk to you tomorrow.